I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakat, Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who teacheth the Bible in 100% truth. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes of Israel, especially the 144,000, who consist of the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in the land of the Americas, as well as the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners living amongst the other nations. Shalom to you. This is Second Ezra's chapter 15. We're looking at the times that we're in. The idea is to obviously, go through scriptures, Bible scriptures, and if there's anything that you want to gain out of it, what you want to gain is to understand what's happening at the minute, with current events that happen around you. And what we do is we, take the scriptures and we translate that for you, so to let you know what you're seeing. The things that are happening are biblical. And obviously, we keep telling you that we're heading towards Jacob's trouble, a time that never been seen before, the end of the world, if you like, which really results in the end of this current society. Kingdom rulership, the way the world is set up today, that is ordained by the Most High. Obviously, it ordains every kingdom to come and go, and so the power structure upon the world today. Obviously, it's described in the Bible. You have America, Babylon the Great. You have EU and NATO, which will be described as the beast. And you have the 7 heads with 10 horns. You have the EU. Obviously, they come under the EU, the banner of the EU, which is a part of the beast system. And then you have a worldwide system which dominates the earth, and then other nations have to, if you want to be involved in trade, so on and so forth, you have to, work through that system. And then to work through that system, you'll have to follow certain guidelines and maybe even political views of the beast system to be involved in that system. So people say, oh, we're not in a kingdom, we're not in an empire. People say that to me all the time. We're not living in an empire. America's not an empire. But it is an empire. It's just not described in the media as an empire, but in the way that everything works out, they're pretty much at the top of the chain. So, this nation of Edomites that are in power today, obviously the next kingdom we're going to experience is the kingdom of heaven, which is a kingdom on earth, ruled by Yahushai, the son of the Most High, King David, 144,000, so on and so forth, 12 apostles. So, relating what you see in the news today at the minute, we've got this story happening in the UK. This is Henry. Where am I at? Henry. The murder of Henry Nowak. I'm pretty sure that would. I don't know if that's pronounced Novak. I think it's Nowak. That's what everybody's saying. It's location. So Belmont Road, Portsmouth, Southampton, Hampshire, England. So in Hampshire, England, Southampton, basically, this 18-year-old was murdered. He was murdered on December the 23rd. Sorry, the 3rd of December 2025, about 6 months ago. And at the minute, you got the court case, the murder trial, which is taking place. And we'll just read it here. An 18-year-old white British university student was murdered by Vikram Singh Digwa, a 23-year-old British Sikh in Southampton, England. Says Digwa stabbed Novak 5 times, including a fatal wound to the chest with a 21 centimeter or 8.3 inches dagger. This is when police officers from Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary arrived after emergency services 999 call made by Digwa's brother. Digwa falsely accused Nowak of assault and racism. So there was a 999 call. Police got a 999 call, and there's a Sikh man. It's about a Sikh man and a white British man. and the Sikh man's brother is the one who called the police to say that the white British man, there had been an incident, and he was saying that the white British man was racist towards his brother, the Sikh. Uh, so, as the police handcuffed him, Nowak repeatedly told the officers that he had been stabbed. One officer responded, "I don't think you have, mate." Nowak also pleaded that he could not breathe. So, that famous line from George Floyd, "I can't breathe," while being arrested. Now, obviously, that's not something, that would have been a natural a, a, event for him to say that. He's not going to be an actor that's pretending to say lines before he died. So obviously, I doubt he sat there and thought of George Floyd and whatever else. He just naturally said whatever he said, but through the spirit, it's pretty much a repeat of what George Floyd said. He also pleaded that he could not breathe. It says while being arrested, he lost consciousness and died at the scene shortly afterwards. The police force referred itself to Independent Office for Police Conduct for review over the death. So, and this is where, I'll leave a link for these videos so you can pretty much see. I mean, so you've got this situation, you can see this is Channel 4. This is probably the best out of the three that I got. This is a full news report on it. It's 15 minutes, it's not long. They'll show you the incident, he's been arrested and what's been caught on the footage. They talk about the person. And then they obviously talk about, different effects that comes from it. Sikh people are known to carry knives they call it a kirpan, for religious reasons. So that's been talked about. Just trying to flick through here to jog my memory. They're speaking about it in. I mean, the man died 6 months ago, but nobody said anything. But now the court case is happening; it becomes news. Then there's I'll leave the link for this. This is new Henry Nowak's info exposes more shocking police failings and efforts to influence responding. So you got these media people that are pretty much making, so they're arguing for the point of far right in the UK, saying, "Oh, because a white British person has died at the hands of an immigrant." That's a problem that we've been having for a while, but that's not where it stops. That's just the beginning. So you had a brown person who's murdered a white person. As you can see there, he's in the situation. He's told the police, "I can't breathe. I've been stabbed." The police have said, "I don't think you have, mate." And so now, like I say, you've got Channel 4. They'll run you through all the little artifacts. You've got the people in the Sikh community there being attacked because of what's happened. Then you've got, I even saw one video. So there's one Sikh man had his turban knocked off. This old guy, obviously a British white man, did it. He's obviously seen the news. He's angry at Sikh people in general. He's seen one and he's knocked his turban off. And then what happened there? I seen one video where about 100 Sikh men pretty much turn up at this man's door, bang on his door, make him open up the front door, and make him pretty much apologize to the old man there and then. So you got this little back and forth, stroke racism, stroke brown people, stroke that their religion allows them to carry knives. We've been seeing this problem with immigration over the last couple of years. The borders of not just America, you've got in Europe, the borders are let down. They allow immigrants to come over, and this is all becoming a problem. You see, the elites that are bringing about the mark of the beast. We talk about Jacob's trouble. We talk about the end of time, the breakdown in society, the return of Yahweh Shai. It centers around the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast is the child, the brain, whatever they call it, the brainchild, whatever it is, the idea of the banking elites is what they want to do. They're the ones who currently run the earth, and that's how they want to move forward with it. So what we're warning you about is Jacob's trouble. You can read about Jacob's trouble in many scriptures, but in particular, this is 2nd Ezra chapter 15. It says, "Woe," start at verse 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein." It says, "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh." It says, "And one people shall stand up and fight against another." It says, "And swords in their hands." Now, the modern day sword is a gun. A sword is a weapon, a killing instrument. So you can replace the word sword with any killing instrument, and it pretty much paints a picture. For the sword and their destruction draw nigh. That's the time we're warning you about. It says, "And one people shall stand up and fight against another." It says, "And swords in their hands." Now, when you say, well, which people are, who's going to fight against who? It's going to be everybody. It's going to be problems all over the earth. People fighting against other people. So, for example, in America, you've got Trump, you've got this whole Make America Great Again agenda, immigration, ICE, catching immigrants, kicking them out. It's their fault. It's the economy. America have moved beyond that now. Now, these Americans are starting to realize that that's not fixing any problems. That's not solving anything. They're still having to pay through the roof for everything. Now Donald Trump's gone to war. Their problems are increasing. And so what it is, you've got like people fighting for different ideologies. Everything's wrong, and we need to fix something. And it's the same thing in Europe. You go through YouTube, you find videos of. I mean, there's like people that go around. I've seen videos of people that go around Europe into these rough areas where so-called black people, these ghettos of France, of Germany, of UK, all these different places, and then they go and look and they go, oh, look, see how they're living, and look, they've ruined the place. This is Europe. It's not Europe anymore. And then you see some of them get chased out of the area. You see these videos, these mocking videos that come about where they'll say, they'll call like immigrants doctors and engineers. Oh, another doctor and engineer who's done something. We know that people are out there doing nonsense, even our own people. This is why everybody has to be judged, the whole world, apart from the elect. But that problem, what you're reading of is happening. A lot of it's happening, for example, on social media, back and forth in the news, speaking. But obviously, slowly and slowly, it's starting to come with the violence. It says, "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh." It says, "One people shall stand and fight up against another." Sorry, stand up and fight against another. I keep doing that. "And swords in their hands." This is, "For there shall be sedition among men." And sedition among men is speaking up against governments and powers that be. They're already speaking up against governments. Nobody has trust in the political powers anymore because as they're complaining, like I just said, you go to Europe, you go to America, they're complaining about the cost of living, they're complaining about the borders being let down. Then as they put it, look at our states, cities, they've been left in a terrible state because you let the borders in, you let all these brown people in. They bring all their 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 habits and whatever else with them, throwing rubbish about. We all know, like you got, for example, India. In India, everyone will mock India for being a dirty place. But then what happens when you let a bunch of Indians into the country? You end up with a dirty part of town. So this is the kind of thing. But then, that's been like that for years. It's been like that, obviously, ever since I was born in the UK. I grew up in London. You had that area over there is where all the black people live. You have that area over there where all the Asian people live. You have that area over there where all the small hats live. You go to Golders Green, get all the small hats concentrated in one particular area over there. And nobody had a problem. But obviously this problem is being developed, and we'll go into that in a minute. And it says, "For there shall be sedition among men, in invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor their princes, because they're fed up, they've lost faith in the rulers." It says, "And the course of their actions shall stand in their power." So they're going to just take matters into their own hand. It says, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." After the mark of the beast is implemented, they'll have 15-minute cities. That will be one way in which a man will not be able to go into a city. But even with all this people standing up against another, it's going to create problems. Already you think about it even before 2020, before all these problems came. I went to Liverpool 20 years ago, and then I remember I knew this guy, and he was just he was just selling weed basically. But what it was, you go to his house, and his someone knocks on his door like every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes throughout the whole day. And I said to him, like, how can you like sit here and sell weed from your house, and people just come and knock on your door and you sell it? Like every 10 minutes, somebody new at the door. Every 10 for the whole day, and then at night time it stops, and the next day it starts again. And he said to me, "Oh, police don't come." He goes, "Police." I go, "How do you don't get arrested?" He goes, "The police don't come here." And then it occurred to me, I said, "Oh shit, yeah, I haven't seen a." And then he showed me the radius. He goes, "Within this circle here, police don't come here." So you have places like that already, even before the end times. Um, when I mean end times, I mean what's been happening over the last 5, 6 years. Even before all that, you've had places, certain places in London, certain places in England, certain places when I went to Liverpool, certain cities, they'll tell you don't go there. Oh, why don't you go there? Because even the police don't go there. So if that's like that before we have all these prophecies come to pass, what's it going to be like when we do have these prophecies come to pass? This is, um, so not just because of the MOTB, but also because of the problems. You've got people starting to stand up against each other. This is because of their pride, their cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. It says, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. It says, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation, time of Jacob's trouble. It says, behold, saith the Most High, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Libanus, to turn themselves one against another and repay the things that they have done to them. So this is good. Obviously, this goes into World War III. Like as they do yet from this day unto my chosen, so will I do also, and recompense in their bosom. Thus saith the Most High Power. It says, my right hand shall not spare the sinners. It says, and my sword shall not cease over them that shed innocent blood upon the earth. So the fire is gone forth from his wrath, and hath consumed the foundations of the earth. It says, and the sinners, like the straw that is kindled, burn you away. It says, woe to them that sin and keep not my commandments, saith the Most High. So judgment is coming, the sword is coming. That makes me think of when Yahushua first came and I had that vision. He showed me the sword go through America. So what it represents is judgment. I'm bringing judgment to this place. People say, nah, Babylon the Great, Edom, it's not America, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Well, I saw it in the vision. And here you can see the Most High represents the sword with judgment. So that judgment's coming. He's put the judgment in the hands of the elites. The elites have this crazy idea to change the world system to the RFID microchip, which is known as the mark of the beast, or the MOTB. And so the elites are bringing it about. So this situation here, for example, Henry Nowak, even with this man here, for example, that they're going in, they're pulling up his background. Look, this is some sort of thing that Sikh people do, the dance with knives or whatever. So they've pulled up videos of this. I mean, you can see all the knives laid up. So they're making big issues about it. Like I said, one big issue is we got to stop this religion. That how can we allow this religion to walk around with a knife? So you see the walls start to close in, but that's not really the main point. The main point is the police. Police wanted to portray Nowak as aggressor. See that what it is. There's a lot of highlight about this story, and that it's blowing up now but it didn't blow up 6 months ago when he actually died. Yet, like for example, I just came across this other story. So, driver jailed for life for using the car as a weapon, and you got this dude who's walking down the street, like he's throwing his bottle in the air, and he's walking down the street. He's a kid, and then this other. So this man here, he's driving down the road. He's basically hunting somebody, and when he finds the guy, he, that's them. And then he comes, then he misses that one, and he goes for him. This is the one he's trying to he's literally trying to kill him. He's missed. He's hit the bike, but the bike's gone into the bush, and the dude survived. And he's gone over here, and over there is where the boy. I think the boy's there somewhere. So what he's done, he kind of hit him, but didn't really get him. But he's got the guy by accident. And then there's another clip where he's. So that's the dude. That's the little boy that died. So he's a Muslim dude. But because the dude who died is from Yemen, he came over and he's a student. See, that's in the news, and it's just had the court case, and they've been jailed. But they're not making a big fuss of it. There's one other clip where he's driving away. I want you to see the car. Yeah, here it is. So this is the car being driven away. Oh, fuck's sake, hang on. That's the car, but look at that. So he's fucking going at some speed, man, and he's on the wrong side of the road. He's aiming for the dude on the little scooter. He's sort of got him, hasn't got him properly. He's obviously hit the front end at the corner with the blue fence and all that, and he's taken the little boy out, and then he's driven off. So this is in the news 4 days ago, and so he's jailed. It's the court case. Two brothers have been um, jailed for killing an entirely innocent teenage boy who was mowed down by a car in Sheffield. 16-year-old Muslim dude, basically, but because the victim is from Yemen, there's no outrage, there's no outcry. In this situation, there's the outcry because the dude is white British, right? So there's your second one. You got the sword, you got the racism, but this is where it really leads to. Um, yeah, even in Germany, demonstrators for Henry Nowak are happening across Germany. All of Europe is furious. So just like your videos, your little like videos you come across on YouTube and they go, oh, look at these immigrants, they've come here, they've left all this mess. This is not Europe, so on and so forth. They're all demonstrating for it. Um, so the main thing that's coming out of it, you see, there's order out of chaos. We've got these elites, they're bringing a change of system. Mark of the beast. They want to do it to have total control over you. They have to do it. That's more important than anything to them, because doing that means they have control of the population. When the MOTB, for example, if it were up and running in full control, they had it. Then, if you commit a crime, they'd switch off your chip. You couldn't buy anything. So there's no point committing a crime or even suspected of being in a crime because they'll switch off your system. You won't be able to eat. All sorts of identification purposes, so on and so forth. They'll use it for that. They'll be able to set up 15-minute cities where you can't leave. Like they do that in China at the minute. They have communities which are locked off by fences and gates, and you have to scan your way out of the gate if you have access to get out of the gate. If you don't, you stay within that community. That could come down to your status, what type of education, what type of job you do. And then you have obviously a social credit score. If you're mean to people, if you're going online, leaving nasty comments, you're watching Hebrew Israelite videos about the end of the world, you're an enemy. So you have that. But what they want to do ultimately is bring in an AI system. This is where everything turns on its head. This is where you have sedition amongst men, people invading one another. You have Jacob's trouble around this concept, the changeover. They're forcing the changeover, just like the war in Iran. They bring that about to affect the economy. Meanwhile, he's gone over to Venezuela and he's secured, Trump has secured oil for himself. So we'll see where that goes. But ultimately, that will bring down the economy. It'll just be hyperinflation. You won't be able to afford anything. They'll have to come with a new thing. The new thing will be the digital thing. And at the same time, they want that digital money, the chip under the skin, Revelation 13, you're buying and selling. They want that linked to AI. They want it linked to a whole system that then, you scan yourself into a building. Are you allowed to go in or not? What's your credit score? What's your social credit score? All these different things. So that has to be accounted. It's not just about buying and selling. It's about total control, the Internet of Things. You can look up the Internet of Things. It's having pretty much everything involved on a network where it can be, controlled from one point of, one point of access, or not necessarily controlled, but monitored, or so on and so forth. So you got these people that they'll, buy a house, they'll set up their furniture, and then they'll go crazy. You got these people that love gadgets and Bluetooth, so everything in their house is like a network. The speaker, the this, the that, they got it all. But then you've got yourself on that system. You can be monitored, you can be controlled. You've seen it 5 years ago when that pestilence came out, people were dropping dead. And then they were talking about, there was some talk about having ways of detecting it in your human body, whether you've got this disease before it shows symptoms. So, in order for that to happen, you'd have to have something on or in or under the skin, something in contact with it. So this is all leads back to that. So with that, you have to have AI, and then you have to have, they go on AI policing, for example. So when they want to police situations, they want to push it through AI. So what the problem you're seeing here is NOAC is two-tier police, and the two-tier police meaning says there are many definitions describes the concept of two-tier policing. It says, but in essence, it is a term used to describe the C. It is a term used to describe that some groups of people or behavior, for example, protests and demonstrations, are dealt with more harshly, more robustly than others. Pretty much, to say it in a short way, two-tier policing is you're a police officer and you're going to deal with this person one way, but you're going to deal with this person in a different way. And that's what people are complaining about. We've gone beyond letting the borders down and letting the immigrants in, and the cities being filthy because you've got all these immigrants running around. We've gone beyond that. Now they're killing our white British people. Look, 18-year-old kid, innocent, on his way to college, or, just about to start his life, or whatever you want to talk about. I don't know how you want to describe it. And and they're using it. So you've even got like his family are coming out and saying we don't want anyone to be using this as a thing, to fight between Sikh or other nationalities or other problems. We don't want you using this as a political weapon. The politicians come out and say we have to use it as a political weapon because it demonstrates where our country's at. These same politicians are the ones that are far right, pushing the fact that we've got too much immigrants in. So you've got you could look. I mean, I don't know if you know Nigel Farage, for example. So you've got Reform UK. Actually, where was it here? News. Thursday briefing how Henry Nowak's death has been twisted into a rallying cry for the far right. Vance blames migrant invasion for UK stabbing. Misinformation around Henry Nowak murder sends police into hiding. So, like, a lot of people are saying he used that Sikh weapon, for example. But then I've had people tell me he didn't use that weapon. He used a blade, but he didn't use that one. But it's all been twisted, and once the rumours get out, it's very hard to pull them back in. We're in the information age, but there's also a lot of false information mixed in with it. But it doesn't matter. What really matters is two-tier policing. It matters from the top. We're not being dealt with in a fair manner. Can you believe it? I can't. I can't believe it. I grew up in the UK. I was born in 1980, so I lived through the 80s. I was 10 years old. It was a certain type of world. Um, you couldn't, you couldn't run your mouth on a white person in this country because you'd be in trouble. When I grew up, but I put it this way: when I grew up on the housing estate, we call it council housing estate. You probably call it projects. It's a council house estate, but it wasn't flats. It wasn't blocks, tower blocks. It was just houses, but it was big, and everyone in there is basically on some sort of housing benefit. And so you get like the rough British people, if you like. And there was like two Asian families on the whole estate, and then one black family. And so I was classed as one Asian family, even though I know I'm an Israelite, which I suppose we technically are Asians. We come from that. Well, we from the east, from Asia, really. They turned it into Europe, and then obviously you go to the Middle East, so on and so forth. But anyway, that's just a thought that just popped into my head. But basically, I grew up on this housing estate, and it was basically spot the brown person, and I could spot the brown person. There was one at my house, there's one at that house down there, and there's another one down there. We used to get our house burgled, so on and so forth. Racist abuse. Sometimes I walk to my friend's house down the street, and then this is like the next. This is like from the 90s now. Even in the 90s, you get to 12, 13, 14, 15, and then you got a couple of friends that live down the street, a 10-minute walk, and sometimes taking on board that 10-minute walk, I'd turn the corner and then I'd see 15 white people and they'd just start chasing me. So I'd have to turn around, I'd have to run. No questions, no like, oh, what's your problem? Blah, 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 none of this, none of that. If you're walking down the street, you turn the corner, you see a group of like 15 white kids and they all start charging towards you. What are you going to do? You're going to run. So luckily I was quite quick. Um, so that's what I grew up in. And then you've had all this, obviously, like they complain about it, DEI. In the 2000s, you've had this new world. Black people are cool, urban. I got urban music, hip hop, and all this shit. Over in the UK, it was like house and garage and jungle. And then you've got like dressing like black people is cool. Oh yeah, we can dress like black people. So they always use Jake. So then it become kind of cool, and then people, oh, you can't say that. That's racist, even though they still thought it. Now here we are, 40 years later, and it's all coming out, and we know that they still have these Edomites. In the scriptures tell you the border of wickedness. They're the extremity. The border means the extremity. The border is the most furthest point out that you can get. And that's how much wickedness is within these Edomites. So when they're acting all nice to you, deep down they're looking at you thinking, you prick, you took over this, you took that, your people did this, your people, blah, blah, blah. We can sit there and complain that, yeah, but you did it during the transatlantic slave trade. You did it through British colonialism. But they don't care. They just care about now. So and that's how these people, these Jakes that think that they're cool within this society, and now I'm cool. I got a lot of white friends. Now these white people are cool. You do have some Israelites that have different skin colors, especially in England. A lot of these white people are probably Israelites, but these Edomites, they don't change, and it's being shown now. And so now they let the borders down. Now the cities are dirty, and now people are getting stabbed. And they'll go on all day about. They'll debate all day about, oh, Henry Nowak's family said not to use this as a political weapon. They're using it as a political weapon. Oh, he had the Sikh thing. Oh, we should ban people having weapons because he had a Sikh weapon. We can't have that in society. But what it really comes down is to the way that the police dealt with them. See, the police are turning up and being told racist. So then they're treating the white dude like the criminal. The white dude's gone, oh, I can't breathe. They've gone, yeah, yeah, whatever, let him die. I've seen one news clip today. These police officers going, yeah, I've spoken to people in the force, and they say this: the worst thing you can do as a police officer is be accused of racism. So now these people are going to work, and they're under the fear of being accused. A police officer is scared of being accused of being a racist, so he has to treat the brown person with gloves, as the white people don't get treated like that. They get treated the rough treatment, and that's what makes me laugh. I think you pricks, we've come this full circle, and now you're trying to play victim. These Edomites are trying to play victim. Is the biggest joke I've ever seen, but it's cool because it's all part of prophecy, and It's the lack of trust in the powers, in the government, in the police, and the police officers say, "I'm just a man. What do you want me to do? You got all these brown people about. You call me racist if I treat them funny, so I got to treat them with gloves." So this is where AI is going to be better to police than a human being, and this is all pushing us towards that. And these people are in uproar. And like I said, they've created it. They won't create that same uproar. You type in Henry Nowak and see what uproar is on the internet, and then you type in this one: driver jail for life for using the car as a weapon. No one's talking about it. And look at his fucking car. He hit that kid. Um, so no one will talk about it, but then they'll talk about this and they'll make it into a story. And you see all this protesting, all this thing, and really it's two-tier policing. Basically, it boils down to a lack of trust in police, in the trust in police, trust in human beings. And that's why they're going to want AI when it's pushed to them. We'll police you with AI. So, and that policing with the AI, when you look at China, works in the form of, for example, a social credit score. Monitor what you say, what you speak, what you do. Everything you do is online. You're being tracked and traced through your phone. Okay, you can leave your phone at home and go out without it, but what happens then when the device is under your skin? You can't even leave the city because you can't even scan your way out of the door. They won't even need police officers. It just becomes easy work for them. So you jump and escape over the fence and run off. They turn off your device. You can't eat because you can't buy or sell anything after that. So you ain't gonna make it. Um, you think that the mark of the beast. People like to use the word forced upon the people. It's not going to be forced in the way that people are going to hold you down and inject you with it, and that's it. Now you've sinned against the Most High. You're in trouble. It's going to be a choice that you make. But when you're making this choice, you're going to feel like you're forced into one particular choice because your only other choice is going to be faith, and that's the ultimate test. That's what Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua is bringing. See now that this is Deuteronomy 32 and 39 before I go. See now that I, even I, am He, and there is no God with me. It says, I kill, I make alive, I wound, and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. So these people will be in uproar, about this death. I mean, nobody dies innocently, but they'll use it. These Edomites, they'll use it. They'll put it in the news. They'll portray it, and pretty much at the minute they're using it for an agenda. They're pushing society into a corner slowly and slowly. And so when you're seeing all these Edomites complaining about it, that's Edomites being pushed into a corner. All these complaints about Europe and the way that it is left. You've let all these Africans in, these North Africans, these Asians, these Pakistanis, blah, 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 blah. Now they've got swords. Now they're killing ourselves. Now the police are scared to deal with anything because you set up this racist laws. It's all pushing us towards their ultimate agenda. It says, for I lift up my hand to heaven and say, I live forever. It says, if I whet my glittering sword, it says, my hand take hold on judgment. And that's exactly what I saw when I saw that vision. And the Most High put the sword through America. It says that if I whet my glittering sword, if I sharpen it, wet as in sharpen, it says, my hand take hold on judgment. And that was what I saw. When I saw the sword swipe through America, America is going to be the center point of this judgment. But everybody on earth is going to get judged all around. Nobody's going to escape it. It says, I will render vengeance to mine enemies and reward them that hate me. It says, I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh. That's talking about nuclear ICBMs. It says, and that with blood of the slain upon the captives. It says, from the beginning of revenges upon my enemy. So, you see all these people in uproar, these Edomites, and it's not even worth, you see them complaining, you feel like you want to tell them, well, look at what you've done, all the things you've done. But you know what? You got to realize that the Most High is working them up into judgment, to fight each other, to fight against other people. He's bringing judgment. And the world's going to be crazy when, we're in the full peak of Jacob's trouble, but you're going to need that faith to you got to have faith that the Most High is going to get you through it. I did forget to mention this Albert Pike letter to Mazzini. If you haven't heard of this, Albert Pike, he's a Mason. He's I can't see his date of birth. I think that's his father's date of birth. His colonial ancestors included John Pike, 1613 to 1688. But he's pretty much a Mason. He wrote a letter about 100 years ago. The Illuminati, their plan, so on and so forth. The Illuminati planned for 3 world wars. August the 15th, 1871. There you go. It's about 150 years ago. So when you read through it, you'll realize that their plan for example, the Second World War, they obviously made it happen because that's exactly how World War II went. And so they have a plan for the Third World War. The Third World War is to bring about the change in agenda, change in society from a fiat currency to a MOTB, Mark of the Beast system, where we can digitally monitor, track, and control everybody. The Third World War is that point of change. So that's going to be running alongside Jacob's trouble. This is, and it says here, part of their plan was, it says it must be fomented, created by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agenda of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. So that's what you're seeing developing with the Third World War in the Levant, in the Middle East. It says, meanwhile, so this is what we're seeing with this Henry Nowak. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. So all this uproar you're seeing, this is what the Most High is doing through the Illuminati, through this, order out of chaos. He's pushing these people into into a point where they're constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We should unleash the nihilists and the atheists, the people that don't believe in God or a higher power. It says we shall provide a formidable social cataclysm. So the key word is social cataclysm, and that's what you're seeing around you. It says which will, in its horror, will show clearly the nations the effect of absolute atheism, not believing in a God, origin of savagery and the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere, the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose dissectic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, anxious for a solution, for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, where to get it. It says, I will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer. It says, brought finally out in the public view. These are Satanists that believe in Satan. But, you can see it there. So this is what they're doing. Pushing the world into a scenario like a boiling point, almost like a volcano, like you have this explosion. It's all going to build up into a head, and then they will come with an answer. The answer will be AI technology. Everybody has to take a device under the skin. We can monitor everybody. We know who's who, and we can control everybody. It's going to be for your safety, so on and so forth. AI won't judge. You will get treated fairly. As a white British citizen, you won't get treated more harshly than a brown person because the police officer's too scared to be racist, to be accused of being racist. So it's all a clever plan, but it's all the Most High's plan. The Most High's put it in the plans of these wicked elites, and they're bringing it about. So I'm going to leave it right there. I hope that was edifying. And until next time, all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakak Wadash. And until next time, Shalom.